then American industrialization. Now, this part of American industrialization is actually in between the American Revolution and American Civil War. We have seen both the sides. Civil War भी देखा हुआ है, and we have seen War of Independence also. बीच में होती है American शुरुआत of American industrialization. Soon after British industrialization, you have USA also starting its own process. Now, there is one interesting part here, and it is very surprising. From Britain, Germany, France, Russia are relatively closer geographically. America is far away, the different continent altogether. Despite that, it was America which started on the path of industrialization before Germany or Russia could. अमेरिका में शुरुआत पहले हो गई, जर्मनी से भी पहले, रशिया से भी पहले. And it's not illogical also if you see the connections that America had with Britain. एक ही लोग थे, so they had huge tight connections, commercial connection. American North especially was also commercially very active, and therefore the American North itself became the region of industrialization first. We have such things which led America to start its process first. On the other hand, if you look at Germany and Russia, they have their own problems. Germany was not united, Russia was backward till very late. Russia was the most latecomer at that time. So you have these regions because of which, despite being counterintuitive, it is the US which started the process first. Immediately after Britain. Geographically, the US was a huge country with all the resources necessary for an industrial boom. तो उनके पास सारा कुछ है, कोल है, आयरन है, लैंड है, agricultural surplus है, they have everything. Still, they had to face certain challenges. What were those challenges? Number one, during the long spell of British colonialism, it faced mercantilist restrictions, because of which it could not start its own industry. Secondly, after independence, it needed some protectionism. But the first constitution was AOC, Articles of Confederation. They were very weak. There is extremely less centralization. The states have huge amount of power, and therefore they could not give any protectionist measure. So after independence, it needed some protective measures to safeguard its industries. However, initially it faced challenge during the formation of strong central government, and they formed a weak government under Articles of Confederacy, which was unable to enforce powerful and progressive policy. ना tax policy कर पाते थे, ना कुछ कर पाते थे. We have seen the limitations of AOC, which led to the need of having a new constitution. देखा है हमने, वो याद है पक्का? Then there was a dearth of essential economic infrastructure in the USA, like roads, canals, banking, credit agencies, managing agencies, etc. So these are the challenges that they have. Political unification, no problem, but they have other set of challenges. They have resources. In case of France, for example, we saw that they did not have coal and iron too much. In case of America, that is not the problem. So हर country का condition थोड़ा थोड़ा अलग है. The path would be different. So the methods adopted by the USA to promote industries, formation of a powerful federal government under the Constitution of Philadelphia. पहली बात तो ये है कि they brought a strong, powerful government. Second is immediately after that we have creation of the infrastructure. किसी ने कहा है ना कि देश के नक्शे पे जो रास्ते होते हैं, जो रास्तों का पूरा जाल बिछता है, रेलवे नेटवर्क हो या रोड नेटवर्क हो, इट्स लाइक द लाइंस ऑन योर हैंड, हाथ की लकीर की तरह होता है. जो हाथ की लकीर आपका नसीब लेके आती है, आपका रोड इंफ्रा देश का नसीब लेके आता है. तो सही बात है. तो you have creation of basic infrastructure. You have Cumberland Road. Cumberland roads were the national highways. So they started to have national central government is funding what was supposed to be done by states. National highway system started. You have turnpikes. Turnpike क्या होता है? Toll roads, tollways. These are who collects the toll? The people who have, the company who has constructed the toll, constructed a road, now wants to recover the cost. मतलब America has also started to go for the private contractors. रास्ता बनाओ, खर्चे करो, पैसा वसूल करो, then hand over to government. You have the government funded roads and the private roads which are collecting tolls. but you have the tolls. So you see the different ways of mobilizing capital. Then canals. Canals are very important, rather more important than roads were canals. So much so, you see Erie Canal. आपने देखा है यहाँ पे you have the great five lakes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The five lakes are connected to each other. All those things, and through that you also have a canal coming to this side, one going to that side. So all these canals were very important because this is the region where all the industries are taking place. The Rust Belt is over here, right? So the introduction of steamboats set off the mania for canal building between 1800 and 1837, which put a halt to most construction. More than 3,000 miles of canals were built. India में भी सब हो रहा है, you know. It is at that time when they have canal mania. India में भी you see Sir Arthur Cotton irrigation network, Birmingham canal अभी भी अपने पास in South India. And it is at that time they created an imagination. चलो connect all the rivers to each other. That idea of connecting river linking project की idea कहाँ से आती है? That's come from the brainchild of Arthur Cotton. He was in 19th century under the impression of British canals and American canals and everything. But anyway, which put a halt. Anyway, from 1820s to 70s there was railroad mania also. We have first transcontinental railroad opened in 1870s. So from east to west, you have the westward journey now getting completed. In that, I will explain my personal viewpoint. I had been to a university over here. Its name was Purdue. And this university is actually something called as, it was established in 1860s. इसी समय. Its name, name तो इंसान का सरनेम है, but it was based on a land grant system. Land grant system. तो मैंने देखा था land grant है क्या. तो in USA to support industrialization, urbanization, education etc. land grants दिए जाते थे. आर्मी की तरफ से हो, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से हो, स्टेट की तरफ से हो. एंड देन यू कैन, क्योंकि कोई भी इंडस्ट्री खड़ी करनी है, इनिशियल कैपिटल कॉस्ट लैंड में बहुत जाती है. सो लैंड ग्रांट यूनिवर्सिटी थी वो. सो इवन इन इंडिया आफ्टर इंडिपेंडेंस वी स्टार्टेड सेम सिस्टम. जो अपने पंत साहब थे, जो यूपी के सीएम थे, गोविंद वल्लभ पंत. तो इन दिस फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड प्लान यू सी फॉर एग्रीकल्चरल यूनिवर्सिटीज, स्टेट एग्रीकल्चर यूनिवर्सिटी, ही ब्रॉट द सेम सिस्टम, लैंड ग्रांट सिस्टम. आपको जमीन देंगे, बनाओ यूनिवर्सिटी. दैट वाज कंप्लीटली इंस्पायर्ड बाय दिस यूएस लैंड ग्रांट सिस्टम ऑफ मॉडल एजुकेशन क्रिएशन. तो रेलवे के लिए भी, व्हाई आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट इट, दिस रेलवे कंस्ट्रक्शन, ऑल्दो इट इज प्राइवेट हैंड, it is in the private hands, still it is funded by the government indirectly because they are giving free land. वो लैंड उनका भी थोड़ी है. वो तो ऐसी किसी लोगों को मार दिया, जमीन हथिया ली. तो anyway, railroads were the key to America's industrial success. ये तो कॉमन चीज है, सब जगह यही है. The first commercial railroad, the Baltimore and Ohio, was begun in 1828, and by 1860 there were more than 30,000 miles of rails in US. They increased commerce and integrated the American market. They were also the first modern corporations. It is an important point because railroads के बारे में ना, इस point को कभी मत भूलना कि railroads are in India also their first modern corporations. Huge industry with thousands of employees, enter managerial class, all these कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रक्चर जो आप देखते हो आज के दिन में ना, इट हैज कम फ्रॉम रेलवे प्राइमरीली, नॉट फ्रॉम अदर कंपनी. रेलवे प्राइमरीली created the first captains of industry like Cornelius Vanderbilt and Andrew Carnegie, and then Lillian Stanford. And from Vanderbilt and Carnegie and Stanford आपको हर एक के नाम से मिलेगी एक एक यूनिवर्सिटी आज के दिन में. They are all railroad barons, earn millions of dollars from railway and then put into some kind of Then you have telegraph. It picked pace particularly after the post-Civil War era, and then even the airports, which were funded by central government. So all these things: road, canal, railway, telegraph, and airport. हर चीज में central government has played a huge role in the unification. That is the main point. Then American model has taken different path from the British model. कैसे? Unlike in Britain, in the USA, labor was not cheap. So the USA preferred to choose sophisticated technologies to excel in the field of industrialization. Initially, it imported advanced technologies and later it developed its own technologies. Ab, why did in Britain we have cheap labor? Because there is enclosure movement and urban movement of peasants. But in US, you don't have peasants of that quantity because these are all immigrated people. Either, so मजदूर पावर कहाँ से आएगी? Either you have to tame the local tribes, but local tribes are ferocious, तो आपने उनको सबको मार दिया, खत्म कर दिया. Then you have to import the slaves. But by the time of 1850s and 60s, gradually slave import became very difficult. It was abolished gradually, and it is very costly also. So plantation में south में slaves थे, but for industry they could not have slave economy, right? It may work on plantation. For industry you need wage labor, not slave labor. So नहीं थे लोग, so they focused more on technological processes wherein you need less labor, and therefore how can you have such a high level technology when you have high capital input? इसलिए American industrialization is very much costly. It is very costly. American economy entirely is actually a very high cost economy. तो आज के दिन में भी we are not recommended कि pollution के issues हो, हजार issue. American economy is not a good model to follow because inherently it has some structural problems. One of that is high cost economy because they don't have much labor. अपने पास लेबर सरप्लस है इंडिया में, तो अगर हम वहाँ की टेक्नोलॉजी यहाँ पे लाएंगे तो हम क्या कुछ फायदे नहीं है हमें. It will create problems for us, not solutions. ठीक? But anyway, then we have market revolution as well. In the first half of the 19th century, it was the beginning of the modern commercial industrial economy. यहाँ पे we focus on the change. We have from cottage industry to putting out industry to factory production. We know this change already. We have seen happening in Britain. It also happened in America. Then positive role of government. It is where you have to focus a lot on. Positive role of government. First thing, built roads and canals, gave massive land grants for railroads. Now why this point is being discussed? Because UPSC asked a question once ki role of the government kya hai batao, and when it is a planned industrialization, government role is very positive. It is not like Britain that government took a relatively side step. And secondly, why do we need government role positive? First of all, it is planned. Second of all, you don't have initial capital. Third of all, you need specific direction. And fourthly, you have urgency. The government role aayega hi aayega. More than that. So we have seen government role in Germany also, here also. More than that, what is important for you to understand, in America today there is a belief there is no business of government to be in business. ये बात है और ये सरासर झूठ है. They think the government has not done anything. जो कुछ किया है लोगों ने ही किया है. The typical Ayn Rand का belief. Have you read the Atlas Shrugged? Whatever she, it's a, मतलब when I read Atlas Shrugged 2007 में पढ़ा था, सेकंड ईयर में थर्ड ईयर में, I was so excited कि यार ये है, मतलब that is the philosophy of life. Then I read Fountainhead also, but then I liked Atlas Shrugged much more. जब जॉन गार्ड आके बोलता है, रेलवे की बात होती है, इंडस्ट्री की बात होती है, दिस इज द स्पिरिट वेयर वन शुड फोकस ऑन डेवलपमेंट. बट when you look at the history, you come to know she is not completely true. American government has been a very essential part of the industrial progress, जिसके बिना progress नहीं हो पाती. We have to accept that. For example, there are the arguments. It built the roads and canals, gave massive land grants for railroads, foundation of banking and other financial bank, first bank and second bank किसने बनाए? Centralized bank, अमेरिका ने बनाया, गवर्नमेंट ने बनाया. Unlike Britain, the USA preferred to adopt protectionist policy. This is called Hamiltonian policy. Hamilton could not become the president, but his philosophy, which was rejected in his lifetime in 1820s, gradually came to be adopted. It is nothing but protectionism. So, an American diplomat cum economist, Hamilton was a great advocate for this protectionist policy, and USA introduced compulsory primary education. So, ये दो चीजें जो थी, इन दो चीजों में we are same to Germany. The last 2 points, education and protectionism. In case of these two things, यहाँ पे we are not same to Germany, but we are specific to America. ठीक है? Let me give a typical table. In USA, you have Hamilton. In case of Germany, it is Friedrich List. In case of Russia, it is Sergei Witte. These are major economic thinkers: Hamilton, Friedrich List, and Sergei Witte. You should include them in your answers, especially with respect to the protectionism. More so in the context of Hamilton and List, less in the context of Witte. Witte के बाकी भी सारे अलग काम है, कुछ कुछ ये काम कॉमन है. अब ये देखो ये क्यों जरूरी है. You understand and you juxtapose things, the things will become clear. We have seen that in 1840s, what is happening in England? There is a complete liberal democracy wali movement, liberalism movement asking for free trade, free trade, free trade, laissez-faire, laissez-faire, laissez-faire. They forced the government to abolish the Corn Law by forming anti-Corn Law League. And in 1846, ultimately Corn Law is abolished. England has formally accepted the creed of free trade. And exactly at the same time, all these other countries are undergoing industrialization. They are going against free trade. By going for Hamiltonian system or Witte system, they बोल रहे कि नहीं, free trade नहीं चाहिए, प्रोटेक्शनिस्ट मेजर्स चाहिए. सो दोनों का साथ में कि वो इंग्लैंड इज एक कदम आगे. जब ये लोग बड़े हो जाएंगे, दे विल स्टार्ट सीइंग फ्री ट्रेड, फ्री ट्रेड. सेम अमेरिका which is going for Hamilton protectionist measure later on by 1870s, 1880s, 1890s will go तलवार लेके थ्रोट पे ऑन जापान, खोल दरवाजे, फ्री ट्रेड. जापान बोलेगा नहीं. जापान क्या कहेगा, मैं खुद इंडस्ट्रियल बनता हूँ. जापान विल बिकम इंडस्ट्रियलाइज्ड. इट विल टेक द सेम तलवार ऑन द थ्रोट ऑफ कोरियंस, खोल दरवाजा, फ्री ट्रेड. So this is how the capitalism works. Legal protection. American Constitution protects patents, which encourages invention and innovation. American Constitution and its Commerce Clause made the US a single area of commerce. Like in India, you have one national market. They also have one national market, like a giant customs union, and the Supreme Court interpreted the laws in a very business-friendly way. And not only the national government, not only the judiciary, but also the various states had their own bit to contribute. So when the question is asked by UPSC ki talk about the role of state, you should not remain confined to only central government. Sometimes in case of, you see, America, the Supreme Court, judiciary also supports. State governments also support. So in 1830s, states began passing general incorporation laws which made it easier to create corporations, and state issued also bonds to build canals and offered good deals the companies that build railroads. आज के दिन में क्या है इंडिया में, म्यूनिसिपल बॉन्ड्स की बात करते हैं आप. सिटी बॉन्ड्स कहाँ से आते हैं? सिटी बॉन्ड्स आर टिपिकली अमेरिकन. डेट्रॉइट सिटी पूरी डूब गई उसके वजह, सिटी बॉन्ड्स की वजह से, वो अलग बात है. बट द पॉइंट इज दैट you see these instruments of mopping up finances go back almost 150 to 180 years. Even the sub-national governments can go to market, take the debt and create the finance for development. क्यों जरूरत पड़ती है इसकी? The reason is very easy. Infrastructural projects are highly capital intensive. किसी एक इंसान की, कंपनी के बस की बात नहीं होती मेट्रो खड़ी करना. And secondly, the gestation period is very long. 30, 40, 50, तब तक कौन दबा के रखेगा, सहन करेगा? पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. Only government can do it. So government has, when there is high capital investment required for long duration, government comes into picture. And then you have the role of civil war. Civil war improved the finance system by forcing the introduction of a national currency in entire region. It spurred industrialization by giving massive contracts to arms and clothing manufacturers. It boosted the telegraph, which improved communication and gave birth to transcontinental railway by the Pacific Railway Act of 1862. So all these things created efficiency, national market and productivity. Then the reason of demography, immigration and urbanization. America also was fortunate. This is very unique to America. You will not find in any other country's industrialization, and that is immigration. दुनिया भर के लोग भाग भाग के अमेरिका जाते हैं, आज भी जाते हैं. America's population grew from 40 million to 76 million in a matter of 30 years. 30 साल में लगभग दुगुना आबादी. And a third of that growth came from immigration, which is good for economies. New York City became the center of commerce and finance, and by 1898 it had a population of 3.4 million, 34 lakh, and the industrial heartland was in the Great Lakes region. Foreigners played an important role. US was at the time seen by Europeans as a developing economy, and investment in America offered much higher returns than those available in Europe. So even foreigners personally came, also invested a lot of money in America to earn more returns. And the most famous example, ये मेरा favorite example है, Brooklyn Bridge. It was at that time world's longest bridge, suspension bridge. लोगों ने देखा नहीं था पहले सस्पेंशन ब्रिज होता क्या है. सस्पेंशन ब्रिज, पीपल वेर अफ्रेड कि ये टूट तो नहीं जाएगा. सस्पेंशन के जो केबल्स है दे आर मेड ऑफ स्टील. थोड़ी स्टील क्या होता है, टूट जाएगा, नहीं जाएंगे. तो आफ्टर बिल्डिंग द सस्पेंशन ब्रिज, ब्रुकलिन ब्रिज, अमेरिकन तो है शुरू से मार्केटिंग एजेंट, एकदम प्रोपोगंडा में माहिर. यू शुड लुक एट द रेड बायोग्राफी ऑफ बर्जेस, एडवर्ड बर्जेस. यू विल सी लाइक कि क्या होते हैं. बट एनीवे, in this they also did one great marketing stunt. They went to a circus owner. एक सर्कस का मालिक था कि तेरे सारे हाथी लेके आ. He brought 21 elephants, and the 21 elephants were paraded on Brooklyn Bridge. दुनिया के सामने मीडिया को बुला के फोटो खींच के 21 हाथी ब्रिज पे चल रहे. ब्रिज गिरा नहीं है. स्टील इज गुड, यूज स्टील. डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन इफेक्ट, राइट. तो the Brooklyn Bridge was one of the longest and tallest suspension bridges in the world. It was a symbol of American engineering prowess and industrial might. ठीक है. And then you compare that with Howrah Bridge. उसी जमाने, ठीक. So what is so specific in America? You have education, you have immigration, you have state का positive role, and then high tech requirement, high cost economy. ये unique चीजें अमेरिका की. And by 1913, therefore, US emerged as one third of world's total industrial output.